Hi everybody and welcome to the Hicamo podcast hosted by myself, William, and co-host Hannah. The aim of the show, as always, is to help you discover career options by sharing career insights and advice from people working across a range of industries. Today's guest is the founder and director of Stanford Real Estate Partners, a specialist recruitment agency focused on placing finance professionals within the real estate sector. He provides services to a broad range of clients, including real estate developers, investment trusts, private equity firms, and investment banks. He's worked in recruitment for nearly 20 years. He advises FTSE 100 businesses on recruitment strategy, helps global companies build their finance teams, and has established a trusted network with business leaders across the real estate sector. He's here today to share insights into the world of recruitment, what employers expect from job applicants, and how he helps candidates achieve their career goals. Please join us in welcoming David Howard Jones. We need to get a live audience actually for that clap.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. So, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to come on the show today. I know there's many people that will really benefit from the advice that you're able to share around applying for jobs and the skills that employers look for when recruiting candidates. Before we jump into all of that, we're going to try something new today and try a game of, as part of your introduction, try a game of 2 truths and 1 lie.
Okay.
And let's see how it goes. So over to you, David.
Super. So 2 truths and a lie. I was a contestant on MasterChef. I once was arrested as part of a jewellery heist. Okay. Once I was locked in a lift and the fire service had to cut and wedge the lift open to save me.
Okay, the last one's definitely real. It's too specific.
Who else is in the lift?
Okay.
That's definitely a truth. Oh, the other 2.
Go on, Hannah, you go.
Let me think. What's the first one? Repeat the first one.
So I was a contestant on MasterChef.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I was arrested as part of a jewellery heist.
Ask him what he cooked. What did he cook?
Yeah, what did you cook?
For which bit?
For the first, the first challenge.
What did I cook? So I did a kind of seafood lasagna.
Oh, is he lying or is he telling the truth?
I'm going for the lift.
The lift is the lie.
It's
2 truths and a lie. So
lift is a truth. Arrested.
Okay,
what was it? Arrested for what? Jewellery heist.
So arrested as part of the jewellery heist.
I think that's just
that one's difficult because it's like, did he accidentally get arrested? That's an obvious one. I think the lie is.
I think the lie is the jewellery heist. That's what I'm going to go with.
I'm going to go with master. Yeah, all right. I'll go with jewellery heist as well, actually, because I'm going to change. I'm going to go with MasterChef.
I'll put you out of your misery, William. You're right. MasterChef was. I love watching MasterChef, and it was it was a bit of a semi lie. So I applied to go on MasterChef, but never got to it. But yes, I was arrested as part of a jewellery heist, surrounded by police. It was hilarious.
How did that even happen? Was you like a suspect?
Yeah, so it was by pure chance. My wife, sister-in-law, and brother-in-law had been in this antique jewelry shop, and we'd been pottering around all well and good, looking at things, pointing stuff out, and then we left. We went and had a cup of tea or coffee, whatever, in a coffee shop just around the corner. As we were walking back to the car, we got surrounded by 4 police officers and were arrested because they thought that, basically during the time that we were having our cup of tea and whatnot, someone had robbed the jewelry place, and they thought that it could have been us because CCTV or whatever. Yeah. Oh, it was hilarious. We're like, really? What? Shona said, surely if we had just robbed a load of jewellery, why would we go and have a cup of tea right next door? And they're like, well, you'd be surprised with the audacity of some criminals. And then I think there must have been one more senior guy who kind of put two and two together and was like, oh no, we've got the wrong people here. But because they'd arrested us, whatever, they had to kind of go through the motions of like search and everything. Or so, yeah. I know, it's madness. It was hilarious because it was so laughable. But at the same time, they were very polite and nice and everything about it. But yeah, it was like, yeah, international jewelry thief Howard Jones over there. So yeah, I've never been arrested for jewelry heists because they've never caught me.
Wow.
Careful, this is being recorded.
Yeah, oh gosh, no, I've never done a jewelry heist.
No, that's a great. Thanks for sharing that.
No, not at all.
That's a great start to the show. So I think we'll jump into it now. So over to you, Hannah, to get going with the questions.
Perfect. Thank you. So we just want to go through basically your career from the very beginning, and sort of how did you actually become a recruitment consultant?
So by luck rather than by design. So I went to school, obviously, went to college, and I didn't get the grades that I wanted to go to the universities that I wanted to.
What A-levels did you do?
So I did English literature, media studies, and drama, with a view to going into the theatre, acting, drama. Had to do some auditions for the likes of Welsh College, Manchester Metropolitan. There was one other one that I really wanted to go to. Anyway, can't remember which one. It was a long time ago, but didn't get into the ones that I auditioned for. I was offered an English and drama course at university, but I just didn't fancy it. So I started working in retail. And so I worked for the Arcadia Group, who have obviously recently just gone into administration. But I worked in their Burton brand, their Principles brand, Dorothy Perkins. So working with middle-aged women, that was really fun. And then I thought, actually, I don't want to do this forever. So I joined a business called Cellular Operations, and I started working in their credit control team, and then moved into revenue protection and started basically learning to be an accountant. So I was going to start on my AAT and go through that. Unfortunately, got made redundant. Sorry, I've just compressed about 6 years into about 6 seconds. So got made redundant.
2008, I presume. 2008, 2009?
So no, this is 2003.
Oh wow, this is way before the financial crisis.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Goodness me. So I was made redundant and I needed a new job. So I walked into a recruitment consultancy and said, I need a job. Can you help me? And the chap that interviewed me said, well, actually, have you ever thought about recruitment? Because we're looking for someone here. And I had no idea what recruitment was, no interest in it. And so he asked me to do a couple of presentations for him and his boss. And lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, they hired me. And that was in 2004, April 2004. So I'm coming up to 17 years in recruitment.
Wow.
So I was my first kind of proper job in recruitment. So I would place cleaners, warehouse workers, drivers, anything that was kind of manual, I would do. But one thing that I made sure I did was I would go and do a shift anywhere that I was going to be placing people, because my thought process was, I can't ask someone to do something that I don't know what it is. So I've done everything from litter picking to packing bananas to running up and down massive warehouses, finding jumpers and Wellingtons and all sorts, just so I could then tell the guys that they're going to be doing the job, look, this is exactly what's going to be expected of you. And for me, I've just continued that kind of mentality throughout the rest of my career. Don't ask anyone to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself. So obviously,
to live by.
Well, it's true. I mean, just why would you? So I did that. I worked for them for 2.5 years, and then I moved to London. Because this was out in Swindon in the West Country. A friend of mine had moved to London and said, come to London, it's so much better than Swindon. Okay, fine. You don't need to tell me twice. So moved to London, joined a business, an IT recruiter. Now, I am not a technical man by any stretch of the imagination. I struggle with technology, and yet I was being expected to place kind of project managers, senior IT guys. Because I didn't know what I was talking about, I couldn't do the job. And so I said to my manager then, about 6 months in, I can't do this because I don't understand enough about it. So I don't feel like I'm doing justice to the candidates that we're working with or our clients. So went and joined a finance recruiter, which of course I understood and knew about. So felt I could give more to the candidates that we're working with to tell them exactly about what they're going to be doing, how it's going to work, and the types of businesses that they're going to be working with, because everybody needs an accountant. Whether you are a property company or whether you're a theatre company or whether you make photo frames, mugs, whatever, you need to make sure that everything is where it needs to be on the financial side of things. So I worked for them for 2.5 years, working across all sectors. But I had a passion for real estate. So I then joined a business and spent 7.5 years with them, focusing on placing finance into the real estate sector. And I love it. I love anything to do with property and real estate. My wife's in real estate as well. And so it's just, it's a very interesting arena, because you have something that you have an asset that's worth something and it's tangible, and that can that's then accountable, if you will. So 7.5 years with this global business, it was super. I was asked to join a startup and spent just over 2 years with them, but I thought, I want to do this myself. I don't want to work for someone else. I want to make the rules. I want to be as flexible as I want to be or need to be, and be everything I can, and offer the right level of service to my clients and to my candidates, and work with a team within Stanford who are all singing from the same song sheet and all have the same drive and determination to be the best for their candidates and for their clients, so that everybody understands that they are valued, and that you're when looking for a new job, it's the most important thing in the world, because your job enables you to live in the house that you live in, put food on the table, provide clothes on your back, and you need to make sure that the people that you're working with you want to work with, and again, have the same ethos as you. And so kind of taking how I like to work and then putting that with how other people want to work, and then just putting them with the right people. I love it. I absolutely love it, because you just get to help people. I'm really fortunate that I get to help people, and the fact that I get paid for it is even better.
Job.
Honestly, I love it. However, one of the worst parts of the job is telling someone that they haven't got a role that they've worked really hard to. So it's got great highs when you can celebrate with someone and say, look, congratulations. But it's crushing lows as well. So don't get into recruitment. It's terrible. But
you have to be the bearer of bad news.
Absolutely. And it's heartbreaking sometimes, because you do go on the journey with people. But it was, so to kind of go back, it was, I fell into recruitment, but it was a very happy fall it's turned out to be.
So off the back of that, in fact, so you have to be quite resilient, because let's say if you do have to get back to someone and say they haven't gotten the role, do you then assist them into finding a different role, or is that sort of the end of the line?
Oh, no, absolutely. And it's quite funny you asked that question, because a lot of candidates have a misconception that you'll only help them once, or they owe you something. It's like, oh, I'm really sorry I didn't get the job. Why are you sorry? It's nothing for me. I'm sorry that I couldn't do anything more to help you. Or, if it's literally just the closest of margins, that's the hardest thing. Candidates want to know that they were beaten by a country mile rather than just pip to the post. But yeah, invariably, I will do everything I can for anybody I can to help them in their career, whether it be first job, second job, last job as a finance director or whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm helping someone, and it means that they are getting to where they need to be.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. Just to jump in on that is, David's actually helped me find a job before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and one of the things I liked about actually working with him on the process is he is very personable. So before he puts you forward for a job, he'll meet with you. He understands what you're trying to achieve, goes through your CV and everything, make sure that you're a good fit. Because as well as representing you as the candidate, he's also representing his client, who's the employer as well. So he needs to make sure it's a good fit for both. So he'll always know his clients really well, and then by meeting the individuals, I assume he gets a feel for actually do the personalities meet as much as the skill set, because that's always really important. If you're working with people day to day, you do need to be, I guess, a bit of a match as well in terms of personalities.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. That's half you can teach a skill, you can't teach personality. So making sure that people have that same work ethos is very true. And there are some businesses who thrive on pressure and working 16, 17-hour days. Now there are some candidates that are okay with that, but there are lots of candidates that aren't, and it would be ridiculous to try and match these two different things. Like, no,
they're like two puzzle pieces that just don't fit with one another.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Yeah. And just off the back of that, so what are the key skills you would say to become a recruitment consultant? So your job role, what are the skills required?
Golly, you have to be a good listener. You have to be really good at listening, and understanding what someone is telling you. We have to sell a product effectively, and that sounds awful to say that a candidate, a human being, is a product, because they're not. But the product that we're selling is me and my colleagues as a service that we can find the best human being for their business. There's a term, human capital, which is basically employees, which is horrible. Human capital, no. It's a group of people working together to a goal, and so everyone working together gets to where you need to be. Human capital is just lots of individual beings that potentially just knock around to each other. So I think listening, listening. Obviously being able to talk to people is quite important. Being personable, as Will said, is really important. For me, it's care. You need to care. You need to be quite empathetic. You need to understand what people want, and then be able to kind of assimilate that information and kind of read between the lines a little bit to then get to where it needs to be. What else? Resilient, persistent. You've got to be quite thick-skinned, I think, sometimes, because not every client that I talk to wants to work with me, because not everyone has the same kind of personality as me. And I'll always say I say to candidates who new candidates, I only work with people or businesses that either I would want to work for or that I'd be happy placing my wife with. And I like my wife, so I wouldn't want her to kind of work anywhere that isn't very nice. So, and I think that's really important. You need to kind of have, and yes, you need to be ethical as well. Because without it, you're nothing. So ethical, listening. You need to be quite organised. You need to be really organised, because sometimes you have 74 different things going on at once. Well, not so. That's possibly a slight exaggeration. But if you have say 10 clients that you're working with at any one time, you've got 10 interview processes. Now, within those processes, you may have 3 or 4 people at interview. So you're managing 40 people's potential jobs or careers at any one time. So you literally need to be really good at communicating with people, being really organized to ensure that everything is keeping where it needs to be. So yeah, I write a to-do list every single day, every morning, just to make sure that I can tick stuff off and everything. Because if it's not written down, it goes one in one ear and completely out the other ear. So yeah, that's a top tip for me. Actually, write a to-do list every day, because also I get massive satisfaction of ticking something off. I don't know about you, but yeah, once you go somewhere, tick, you can just see that, yes, I've achieved something.
Absolutely. So the next question would be, okay, so what type of clients do you work with? You touched on it before, that it's mainly real estate. So you take people from finance and put them into real estate. And what clients do you like working with the best, and what makes them good to work with?
So yeah, I work with clients, anything from huge developers, so people that build skyscrapers. So the Shard.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's owned and managed by a business called REM. I worked with them and placed 2 people with those guys. So that, for the actual construction side of things, worked with. I'm looking at kind of the FTSE 100 side of things. So Land Securities. So they're a huge property company, and they own the massive Nova and whatnot over in Victoria, opposite Victoria Station, and like loads of office buildings around the city and the West End. Then you have then you have much smaller businesses that mainly have 2 or 3 employees that are at the start of their career, at the kind of scale up of their business. So they need a very different type of individual to kind of the massive multinational companies and whatnot. I've worked with Battersea Power Station. So they obviously they're rebuilding the power station. Placed several people within their finance team, and then we've got anything in between. So anything from developer to like banks who invest in real estate to make more money for their clients.
What was the point in your career where you decided that you did want to actually start your own firm, and was it quite daunting for you?
Yeah. It was more by accident. So I'd flirted with the idea for a few years, but then I was approached by the startup business that I joined after leaving the multinational PSD, and as I said, I was with them for 2 years. They focused mainly on marketing recruitment rather than finance recruitment, and real estate compared to and the way you kind of recruit into finance is just a little bit different. So wasn't the leverage. So we kind of parted company. And I was going to go and work with a consultancy, but they said, look, we really don't have enough for you to have you full time. Can we just invoice you? So I was like, well, okay, well, actually, if you're going to do that, I may as well do that for other clients as well. So set up Stanford Real Estate Partners with a view to being able to service a consultancy, maybe service a couple of other clients, have the freedom to pick my daughter up from nursery, take her to nursery, not have to worry, not have to be answerable to anybody else, and being able to do it the way I want to do it. And then it's just grown massively, not by accident, obviously really hard work, but I never planned that we'd have kind of 3 colleagues by this time. We're about to open an office in Amsterdam as well, which is quite exciting. And
congratulations!
Thank you. No, thank you very much. So yeah, it was daunting, but I'm really fortunate that I've had really good support and advice throughout the process. One of my greatest supporters, I think, is a chap called John Whitehead, and he runs a business called Accountancy Divisions. Now, I worked for him in second job when I moved to London, and when he found out that I was setting up on my own, he said, "Look, anything you need, any advice, don't be afraid to ask me. No matter how stupid you think it is, it won't be stupid. So call me, ask me, and we'll go through it together." So I'm, number one, had him to ask questions about growth, etc. My accountant is absolutely fantastic. She's actually an ex-client, and she actually acts as my company secretary as well. And also, just speaking to my clients, I always, I'll ask them advice. How, if they've been in scale-up situations as well. People invariably good people want to help good people. That sounds a bit obsequious to say that I'm a good person, but nice people want to help nice people. And I think as long as you are asking in the right manner, and you're doing it with everyone's best interests at heart, then ask the questions, and surround yourself by people that champion you and want to help you and want to see you do well, and also see the benefit of being part of your group, so that you can champion them as well. Everything is really reciprocal. I've passed roles that clients have asked me to help with to other businesses, because I'm not necessarily going to be the best person to help them. So you want the best for anybody. So actually, speak to so-and-so or speak to so-and-so. They will get you the best person rather than myself.
100%.
And it sounds like then, so John's kind of become a bit of a mentor for you in a way, is how I'm listening to that. But then, have you had mentors throughout your career? And what would be your view in terms of mentorship?
I think mentorship is absolutely fantastic. You can never stop learning. You never stop learning. There's one of my clients that I work with as well. I wouldn't say it's a true mentorship, but we have weekly conversations about growth. It's more of a kind of just an open chat, rather than have you done this and setting plans and goals, etc. But it's something that I haven't really had time to investigate fully yet, but something that I definitely do want to do, because it'll help. Number one, it will help me, but it will also help my colleagues as well, because you can then share that knowledge. And there's a term, a rising tide raises all ships. And if you can be part of that rising tide, help everybody you can.
Yeah, that's great advice. Go on, Hannah.
Okay, cool. With regards to sort of becoming an entrepreneur and building something basically from the ground up, what advice would you give to people that might want to become an entrepreneur and are thinking of pursuing a business? And what would you basically tell them?
It's really hard work, and it's exceptionally rewarding to see growth from nothing to where we are now. I'm very proud of what we have achieved as a team. Not just me. The three guys that I work with as well. It's been due to their hard work and the kind of collegiate nature. And it comes back to, don't be afraid to ask questions, because I asked loads of questions. Also, I think never compare yourself to anybody else, or if lots of people have set up recruitment businesses and lots of other businesses as well, and people have invariably been more successful. Some have been more successful than others, but you can't compare yourself to anybody else, because the moment you start doing that, you will have negative thoughts, because you don't know that they didn't have £200,000 invested in them. You don't know, what support they've got or what clients they've got. Focus on yourself, and as long as you are better than yesterday, that's all that matters. Keep pushing on. It's like I enjoy running and I enjoy cycling. Will I ever be Eliud Kipchoge? No. Do I admire what he does? 100%. And it's the same as Chris Froome or Bradley Wiggins. Will I ever be them? No. But do I just enjoy training to try and be better than yesterday? Absolutely. And I think you have to kind of take that mentality to just be true to yourself, which is, look, if you set that goal, it's like writing my to-do list, you set that goal, make sure you achieve it. Or if you don't achieve it, work out where you went wrong, or talk to someone, say, right, why didn't this work as I wanted it to? Take that advice, use it, and move forward. And there's a chap I follow on Instagram actually called Chris Nikic, and he was the first person with Down syndrome to complete an Ironman. So an Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, a 116 mile bike ride, and then a marathon, so 26-mile run. So no mean feat for an able-bodied person. Is that the right term to use? I'm sorry if I've offended anybody, but but then for him, and his mantra was 1% better every day. And seeing the struggles that he's overcome and what he does on a daily basis just to make himself better is absolutely fantastic. So, I've almost got a role model in him to say, following what he does, it's great. So, on Instagram, you should really, you should follow him. He's really great.
Was it Chris Nikic?
Yes, so Nikic. He's an American chap, and he completed an Ironman. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Have you done an Ironman before, David?
I haven't. I'm leading up to it. I've got 2 half Ironmans this year. So.
And do you find working out and keeping fit kind of helps you in terms of in your job as well, in terms of your mindset and keeping de-stressed?
100%. I get antsy, for want of a better term, if I haven't trained or exercised, and I think that it really focuses the mind. So this morning, 5:30, I was out on my bike, did my training, got home, shower, took my daughter to nursery, at my desk, and I've been buzzing all day because you've got the endorphins and everything that happen. Obviously, I've been really excited about this podcast as well, and it sets you. And I think healthy body. It's a bit of a cliche, but healthy body, healthy mind, because you haven't got the kind of the clogged up just sluggishness or whatever. It really does focus you.
Yeah, you need an outlet, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Outlet is the right word to use, I think.
Exactly. So in terms of when you think back to your sort of clients and whatnot, obviously depending on each client, they'll obviously ask for different skill sets depending on the role. But what's the most common skills that they ask for from the people that you're basically connecting them with?
Well, Will will probably be able to help you out on this as well, or maybe put his tuppence worth in. There are different roles within a finance team, but on the as a qualified accountant, you can either be a management accountant, a financial accountant, project accountant, and then either a finance manager, financial controller, and they're all very slightly different jobs. But the core of it, effectively, you have to be a qualified accountant. The key thing with a lot of businesses is the need to be able to communicate, and how you then interact with different people, different teams, and your ability to collate information and then use that information and translate it into different usable information so that other people can make decisions on what you've produced. So the attention to detail, communication, presentation skills. Now, this is the same. You don't, not even within finance or accounting. With any job role, you need to think about this. Like, how do I appear? How do I come across? are my presentation skills verbally or written where they need to be? And if not, what can I do to improve? What can I do to improve that? So whether it be a case of taking extra lessons in writing skills or something, or I'm terrible with computers, so anything to do with PowerPoint or anything like that, one of my colleagues really kindly helps me out with, and so I know my weaknesses, and I'm trying to kind of overcome these. I'm really lucky, obviously, that I've got people that can help. But how am I viewed, or how is one viewed in a situation, and being able to look internally at what is needed, and then be able to kind of turn that around and utilize that is important. So yes, you've got your core of what is needed, but it's everything around that will help you get to where you need to be.
Definitely. And I suppose that leads us on to the next part as well. So what tips would you personally give to candidates when they're applying, and when it comes to, the standard sort of CVs, interview tips, and things like that?
Well, I think CVs, they're a movable feast, really. So with lots of people say, a CV should only be 1 page or should be 2 pages. I completely disagree with that. I think your CV should have as much information as you think is pertinent to the level of role that you are applying for. So if let's take you, for example, Hannah. So studying economics, you've got, say, 10 or 12 modules that you're going to be studying. Now, if you apply for a job in banking as a junior, I don't know what I'll say. Let's just say a junior economist, and they will want to see all the modules that you've worked on, and they'll also want to know what you did in maybe your sandwich year, or where you've done internships, and what you did in each of those internships, because that's going to be really important to them to know, actually, Hannah can do 90% of what we want her to. And so that may take 2 pages. Don't forget to write a little bit about yourself as well. So I always think you should, this is personal preference, by the way, of what I like to see. Yeah. Don't take it as read. But I like, you don't need to write curriculum vitae on the top of your CV either, because everybody knows what it is. Name, you'd be amazed how many CVs I get without people's contact details on as well. So it's really important. Make sure you put, phone number, email address. If you want to put your address, great, or maybe just put London. It depends if you're sending a cover letter as well. But a personal profile about you, because a CV is literally a 2D piece of paper, and it's just words. You need to make those words come to life. So I'm Hannah. I am interested. I love economics because of what it means, to the growth of countries or to businesses, etc., and a little bit about that. But then why you enjoy it, and also a little bit about yourself on a personal side of things. I like salsa dancing and eating out. I don't know if you do, but it's giving that little bit more so that people see Hannah on the CV rather than just words. So
it's interesting you say that, because when I was speaking to my careers department, they were saying how you don't necessarily need a personal profile, and how it sort of takes up space because you need it all on 1 page, and that you should take that space to put down your work experience, etc. So I think it's really interesting you say that, and it's quite a nice way to look at it, is that you have to basically put your heart out on these 2 pieces of pages, so you might as well put down everything.
I agree. One of my clients actually won't interview anybody unless they've got a personal profile, unless they say a little bit about themselves, because he's a super nice guy. Does he? I see, you've made me think about who my favorite clients are again. But he is amazingly wonderful guy. And because he runs his team as in inverted commas, a family, he wants to know that, okay, yeah, you may be interested in fly fishing and ballroom dancing, which he's got absolutely no interest in doing part of. But do you know what? It shows you've got interest. It shows you've got something outside of work, and you don't just go home, watch the telly and stare at your phone all night. Because, what does that say about you? It doesn't. You need to show that you've got more to you than just your ability to do a job for somebody. So yeah, absolutely. Profile about, a little bit about what you do on the professional side of things, job history and what you've done. You don't need to say opening post, making cups of tea, etc. You've got to make a judgment call as to the pertinent information. But depending on how long you've been with a role and the level of what you were doing as well, 3 or 4 bullet points on each thing. And what you want is to be able to use each of those bullet points as a starter question, so the interviewer can say, "Oh, tell me more about this," and then you can tell the interviewer, "Oh yes, actually I did this and that meant that," and it just makes for a much nicer flowing conversation rather than having kind of War and Peace on your CV, and they then don't need to ask you any questions, or just having one bullet point which doesn't show everything that you can do. So it's a fine balancing act, but yeah, 3 or 4 bullet points to what you've been doing, and that's that. If you've worked in cafes and stacking shelves in Sainsbury's or anything, that isn't going to have any impact onto the job that you're applying for. You can just put the headings, store assistant or waitress or waiter, whatever. Everybody knows what's in that job. Everybody knows what you're going to do, and because it's not pertinent to the role that you're applying for, that is then a waste of paper, a waste of space on paper.
Yeah, absolutely.
But have you got any funny stories around interviews or anything
This will be
like that?
interesting to hear, definitely.
Well, I've been in a couple of interviews myself, and it's just been awful. There are 3 P's: prepare, prepare, prepare. Make sure that you know who you're meeting. And maybe you've looked at LinkedIn about them, so you can ask them a couple of questions about why they joined the business, what they enjoy about the business, and their career as well. People like being asked about themselves in this situation, because it shows them you haven't just turned up, you've done your preparation and you're ready to ask. Make sure you know a bit about the business as well. The last thing you want to do is be asked a question. So, what attracted you to work for our company? It's awful. So you don't need to memorize their website, but just 3 or 4 points about what they do, why they do it. Look at their corporate social governance as well. That's really important. And if from their corporate social governance and what they do for the community matches with maybe some of your extracurricular activities, make sure you talk about that, because that's, there's then a connection straight away with why you are a good fit for their business. But also make sure that you ask questions about why they, I don't want to say deserve to have you join, but it's not just a two-way street. And I think a lot of people forget in interviews that it's just the client or the business saying, right, why do you want to work for us? Why do you want to work for us? Why should I come and work for you? What do you offer that is different to another bank or another property company? How do you support your colleagues? What's the work-life balance like? What can I expect for support in my career? As you touched on earlier, do you have mentoring programs? How will I learn? And what's in it for me? It's so much more than just getting paid at the end of the month.
Because they're looking to hire people, and you're basically putting yourself forward. So they have to sort of sell the business to you as well, not just you selling yourself to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say a business can ask someone to marry them, but you can always say no. So you are actually, as people going for job interviews, are actually more in control than you think, because they may love you, but you can go, nah.
Yeah,
like
have the power to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And people forget that. And so, kind of empowering that. Whilst been talking, I have been trying to think of some terrible interviews. There was one girl that I remember, bless her heart. She just thought she researched the wrong company. There were two.
Wow.
Yeah, and the thing was, the client was really cool about it. They were really cool about it. Exactly the same name. One is a bank, but one is a property investment company.
My word.
She researched the bank and had loads of notes and everything. And but it was all taken in good faith. And it was, I mean, do you remember in maths, as long as you showed your workings, you'd get points, even though you got it wrong. And it was much like that. They really liked her. She wasn't quite right for the job anyway, but they said, look, please tell her it was nothing to do with the fact that she researched the wrong company. And I felt really bad, because I probably should have sent her a link to the website rather than just leaving it to her, which is not ideal. There was a guy that turned up a day early. That was quite funny.
He was very keen.
He was really keen. I'm not sure whether they'd have been happy with him sitting in reception for 24 hours. But on the whole, yeah, no, there aren't any horror stories actually. No, I think on the whole, if people have done what they should have done, then yeah, it's okay on a kind of on a research side of things. So
just a quick one. How could you basically distinguish yourself from other candidates during an interview? Because I know you'd probably say something along the lines of show your personality, something like that. But what advice would you give? Yeah.
Well, it's reading the room. So, and also, as you said, not being afraid to show your personality, because there will be, again, to use you as an example, Hannah, and I'm sorry to do this, but you are in a class of how many people?
I'd say 20.
20, and of those 20, maybe half of you will be applying to similar jobs. So yes, you've got you'll have the same degree. Maybe some of you will have a first or a 2-1, maybe some of you have a second. So those with seconds and thirds may not be going for the same roles. But this is just in one university. And obviously you're fortunate that you're in London already. So you've got all these other guys coming looking for graduate schemes. They will want to see what that you are different and you are a cut above the rest. So this is where the extracurricular activities come in, putting yourself forward for internships or any kind of work experience, and making sure that's on your CV, so that the kind of graduate recruitment team can see that you've invested in yourself already, because that's the key thing. You do need to invest in yourself to get ahead. So it's presentation again. Have you turned up to an interview looking smart? Have you brushed your hair? Have you? Have you brushed your hair? So it says he. But are you the mirror of the type of people that you are going to be working with? Yes, you don't want to turn up in kind of a boring old grey suit, but you need to almost be. You're dressing for the job that you want effectively, and so you look on their website and see how people dress. Look at you can always find something about us. So you have a look at people who have been through the graduate scheme before, and have a look at where they've been. Look at their career, and bring that up during interview. To say, look, I've actually gone above and beyond what other people may have done for research. I'm interested to hear about so and so. They joined the graduate scheme, and now they're doing this. How were they supported within their career? And if you talk very positively, as though you almost have the job already, rather than if, say, I would do this or I would do that, or we, to create a kind of collective thought process as well helps as well massively, without appearing too kind of egotistical. It's a really fine balance.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful, David. Some great points there around interview, and the point I really liked which is one that I've kind of, I think when I first started working and I would go for interviews, I never fully considered was that it's a two-way interview. But as I've got older and more experienced, I think also having that mindset when you go into the interview, it can help you to be a lot more relaxed, because you don't feel the pressure of, I've got to impress the employer. It's a two-way thing. So
you're absolutely
to also
right.
convince you that it's the right job for you as well, because when you're going for jobs, you don't have a lot of information necessarily about what the role is. You'll have a job description which sets out some of the information, but until you get in there and can actually ask the questions and meet the people you're going to be working with, it is very difficult to know for sure if that is the role. And what you don't want to do is find yourself committing to something, then after a few weeks or months you realize actually you've made the wrong decision. So make sure you ask those questions. Yeah, no, I think that's really good advice, David. Thank you.
Absolutely right. No, my pleasure.
Okay, so I think that's it in terms of the questions from Hannah. To wrap up, we have 3 sentences that we will be hoping you can complete.
Okay.
So I'll start them off, and then you finish them. So the first one is, success to me means.
Success to me means happiness. So, and that's not from I'm successful, look how much money I've got, or anything like that. That's if I'm happy and I'm able to sit down and enjoy time with my family, and that means I'm successful. It means that we are at a position in our lives that we don't have to worry. And again, not that multi-millionaires or anything like that. It's just, happiness and being happy.
Great, that makes sense. Yeah. And the next one is, I wish I had known.
I wish I'd have known how fulfilling setting up my own business would have been, because I probably would have taken the plunge sooner.
That's great. Yeah, because I think a lot of people, it's the fear of the unknown. But once you actually get through that barrier, you then realize, actually, I could have, or could I? You ask yourself probably, could I have done this sooner? Fear
is temporary. Regret is permanent. And it's so true. It's so true. And so, there's another one that says it's easier to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. So just do it, and then oh, sorry, didn't realize.
Yeah, and that's like people say, you can fear failure, but in terms of regret, you don't want to live with a regret having not tried it. But at least with failure, you can, go on to the next thing and try again.
Absolutely. And failure, you can look at failure 2 ways. Failure is, oh, damn it didn't work. And you can then just sit and wallow in that. Or you can go, oh, it didn't work. Do you know what? Right. What can I do differently next time? And go on to the next one. And this is going to sound really cliched, but it's almost a kind of a state of mind. It's not a failure. It's a learning curve. It's right, that didn't work. What do I do differently to make it work next time? And as long as you keep kind of building on that, then you will get to where you need to be.
Yeah, great. Agreed. So then the last one is, the best advice I could give.
Write a to-do list. No. Be true to yourself. Honestly, be true to yourself, and don't compare yourself to anybody else, because nobody else has the Everyone, as I say, everyone's got their own troubles. You don't know what anybody else is going through. You don't know what support anybody else has or what backing anybody else has. So as long as you are true to yourself and you hold yourself accountable, then that's for me. Hold yourself accountable and believe in yourself as well, because nine times out of 10. You can do it. It's just your own little self-nagging going, oh no, don't do it. Tell it to shut up and do it.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Hannah, have you got any more questions before we wrap up?
No, I don't. That was great.
Okay, great. So thank you so much, David, for taking the time to come on the show. Really appreciate it. And
it's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Great, thank you. And thank you everyone for watching. See you next time on the Hicamo podcast.